Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a watch video for you, sort of a discussion video about being a watch guy, whether I am or not a watch guy, and probably this will help you see the kind of watch content you'll expect on this channel. Before we get to that though, I do want to share a couple of knives. I just can't help myself. So recently, my Benchmade Crooked River that many of you have seen before, I added a blue MXG clip. And I'm carrying it like this and kind of enjoying it. I like this a little better than the carbon fiber that I had on it that was from Rogue Blade Works. The other knife that recently has rejoined the collection, I did a review on the Spyderco Magnitude a number of years ago. I really liked it. At the time, they were really high demand, and I just couldn't justify keeping it in the collection. I picked this up for a really good price, and I have to say I really enjoy this knife. So you can probably expect to see those around the channel a little bit from time to time. Now let's get back to the watches. And what brought me to this video, sorry guys, what brought me to make this video is just kind of my own thought process. And I'll give you a little bit of background here. So recently I've accepted a couple of watches in trade for knives. And this is not something I ever really thought I would do, but two watches sort of tipped the scale. This being the first one. This is the G-Shock GA like 2100. I can't remember the last part, but it's the green metal case Casio. And I have to say, when I first saw this watch, I was just so blown away that I really wanted to check it out. I know if I move it the wrong way, the shadow gets all weird. But I saw this and I was like, that is one of the coolest looking watches I've ever seen. I really want to have that. And so I arranged a trade for it, which worked out really well. And I have to say, this is one of my favorite watches at this point. And I actually want a couple of other variations of the Casio. There's a new one coming out with a nylon strap that I really want to get my hands on. And there's a couple of full metal ones. One of the full metal ones I really like as well. So I won't belabor that point, but just to point out that was one of the watches. And the other one that got me curious or interested or that I found rather compelling is the Citizen EcoDrive Nighthawk here. Again, as soon as I saw this, I was like, this is the greatest thing. So because of those two watches, I sort of went down the rabbit hole a little bit. First of all, I had to do a bunch of research to know whether or not I wanted those watches, whether or not it was something that I was going to enjoy or whether, I'd think better of it. And overall, I've been pretty impressed. Now, since that time, I've got a couple of further watches. This is like a few months ago. Since that time, I've added a couple other watches. I've had some watches before that as well. I will say I like having a watch. I've had this ProTech for many years. Often wear it hunting, hiking, swimming, anytime where, time matters. I need to be able to take a quick look at the time. I may not want to have my phone with me or it may not be possible to have my phone with me. I've been wearing this. You can see it's pretty heavily beat up. Not only have I used it, my son has used it a little bit. So really great watch. One that's been very useful to me. So I kind of knew what I liked because of this and the functionality that it has. And so, over the years, I've had this. I've also, back when my wife and I were dating, she bought me this Esquire watch, and I've had it and I've kept it in decent condition. Every once in a while, I had some problems with it a few years ago, so I went like 3 or 4 years without wearing it because some of the internals had, I guess, a battery had gotten damaged and corrosion had leaked. Anyway, it was a problem. I got it fixed, and I still wear it from time to time, mostly because of the sentimental value of it, which again I think kind of plays into this whole discussion. Now, having given you that little bit of background, let me go on to point out that, watches are kind of hard for me because this is the Galaxy Watch 5, not the Pro. So because when I find myself when I'm watching, when I'm looking at watch forums or when I'm on, Facebook groups or watch channels, YouTube channels, I find my tastes are very different from, the watch content that I see out there. So I thought I'd quickly run through that and go, this is why I sincerely doubt whether or not I'm a watch guy. All right, so let me just run through a few things. First of all, the automatic obsession, or the manual or automatic obsession. I get mechanical watches are really, really cool because of the precision, but I have a hard time justifying the cost of them. Now, there are a couple of mechanical watches that I would look at, but they're on the budget end of the spectrum because they're kind of a novelty, I feel like, because a cheap quartz watch from Walmart is going to keep better time than even some of the most expensive mechanical watches that are out there. And so because of that, because of the drastic change in technology, it just doesn't make sense to me. All right. Furthermore, there's another element here that I immediately, kind of thought about when I looked at a couple of automatic watches, and that is, I can't remember anything. So remembering to regularly um, adjust my watch, remember to even the watches that are automatic, but you have to wear it like every so often. Like I've looked at a couple um, where it's like 40 or 80 hour runtime. Well, man, I often would go 40 hours without wearing a watch. So, all of those things come into mind when I think about mechanical watches. And because of that, I kind of go, okay, um, I have a hard time really finding them very, very appealing. Minorly appealing, sure. If you've got a cool one you want to show and you're showing it off, I'm interested, but that's about it. Secondly, the thin, classy watches, like even this is the closest thing I have, and it's not, exactly thin and classy, but it sort of is. It's certainly on the smaller side in terms of case size, if nothing else. And so those watches just don't appeal to me. Often, people will be talking about how great a certain watch is, and, all the watch guys seem to love it. And I look at it and go, I don't get it. Like, I could not possibly imagine myself wanting that. Um, and so, I kind of go, well, anyway, yeah, the, I just cannot, I cannot imagine myself wearing a small watch. Even this one is on the smallish end for me, and I only kind of, I like it more because of who it came from and because of the emotional connection than the actual watch itself. So the thin, classy, sort of leather strap, gentlemanly watches, I do not appreciate at all. Thirdly, really expensive watches. There are a couple that I will admit look kind of cool. Every once in a while, like I saw an AP Royal Oak that was a particular configuration of that watch, very expensive, and I will admit it looked cool, but no cooler than lots of the $150 watches that I see out there. And it just happens to be like 100,000 times the price. Um, so kind of crazy. And, so I kind of go, okay, the expensive watches I just don't get. And really, to me, and I guess expense is in the eye of the beholder to some degree. But to me, a really expensive watch is, three, four, $500, and even that I find a little hard to justify. Fourth, the silver and gold stuff I don't appreciate at all. I'm not a big jewelry guy anyway, but oftentimes, again, when I'm watching watch content, or even guys I follow on Instagram will share watches that look like jewelry, and I just don't get it. Right? I go, why would any person want to wear that? It just doesn't make sense. All right. And so that kind of wraps up why I have this weird sense of, am I a watch guy? This Garmin Fenix 6, I really appreciate this. It looks cool. It has tons of great features. The battery life, so it has 2 days battery life left. I charged it about a week and a half ago. So it doesn't actually achieve, like when you have it fully charged, it'll say like 13 or 14 days. It doesn't achieve that, but it does achieve like 8 to 10 days. I mean, I'm at 8, 9, I think I'm at 9 days now, or 10 days since I charged this, and it still says it has 2 days left. So, um, I know now that's getting dangerously close to what it said, 13 or 14, but I don't think the 2 days will be gone. If I wear this for a day, I think it'll run out because the wearing it seems to burn off the battery pretty quick. And the solar, I don't know. Wait, I've played with it a little bit. It's not summer yet, so you're always wearing long sleeves and you're inside, so I haven't really got to experience too much of the solar. but I'll update this as I can. I'll do a full video about the Fenix 6. So I think it's a pretty compelling offering, especially with the price point they're doing right now. So let me now switch gears and talk about some of the things I do like in a watch. That Garmin sort of served as a really good introduction to that. Here's another. So this is the G-Shock Rangeman. I love this thing. It is, it does a lot of the things that I want a watch to do and does them pretty well. Now, yeah, it's big and beefy, but I kind of like that as well. I kind of like the futuristic look. Um, and so I've got to say, yeah, this is a watch I really, really appreciate. I find myself picking this watch to wear a lot of the time, probably even times when it's not the most appropriate choice for what I'm doing, but I really, really love this. Another G-Shock that I picked up recently is this GA100, really, really well-known G-Shock. I did a little video about it. I love that camo face. The features, the two circles don't do much until you start using the stopwatch or the timer. But nonetheless, I do really like this a lot. I like the look of it. Mostly the look, even though, I just talked about not liking jewelry, but this I think looks really, really cool, and it's a little bit different, and it's still durable and practical and usable. All right. So those are some of the things, some of what I do like about watches. I will say, I have to add this. When I was talking about this watch with a few friends, Levon from the Knife Nuts podcast said this is the dream watch of all non-watch guys. And he kind of, he's giving me a bit of a hard time about that, but I'm like, that probably perfectly describes me. And that comment is part of what got me thinking about this video. Maybe I am a non-watch guy, which is totally fine. So I'll share the non-watch guy watches on the channel. And if Levon from Knife Nuts podcast ever watches, he'll just laugh at me and go, "Yep, Kevin's an idiot." But he knew that already, so it doesn't matter. I do want to, now that you've kind of seen my preferences, and I think you can expect to see more of this kind of stuff. Most of the watches that you're supposed to love, I don't. But the last thing I thought I'd close with is to say, here's some of the watches that I kind of think about getting in the future. I already mentioned I want a couple other versions of this. I really, really enjoy this, and so I definitely want a couple versions of this. I do want either the Timex Expedition North, the titanium field watch that they have. It's a field watch look, which I enjoy, but it's bigger and beefier. Seiko has one of the Seiko 5 field watches, looks pretty cool to me as well. So if I can get my hands on one of those, I probably will. I know those are automatic, and those are really the only automatic watches that I have much interest in. Other than there's a couple out there, and most of them are mall watches. So if you've got recommendations for a watch that's a nice, good quality, reliable watch, but also has the face where you can see through into the mechanics, that would be, I would look. That's kind of cool, and I can geek out over that just a little bit. Um, that's, I guess, the one case where the mechanical watches do make a bit of sense to me, where you can actually see the movement and kind of appreciate the intricacy of it, which is made possible by seeing through that face. All right. So yeah, let me know down in the comments if you've got a great idea for that. I also really want a G-Shock Mudmaster. And then there are a couple of other smartwatches. This is really nice. This is the Garmin Fenix 6, and this is one of the few Garmin watches. They're on sale right now, so it's a reasonably affordable, and you can get this has like full GPS functionality, which is really, really cool. All right, so there you go, guys. That's a little bit about the watch content and my thought process on it. I have a couple of other videos to make. Look for one where I kind of talk about watches versus knives. There are a couple things that in terms of my assessment and properties and things that I want to think through. But for now, that's a little bit of a discussion on my thoughts about watches, the watches you'll likely see on the channel, and whether or not I'm a watch guy. I still don't really know. I mean, I have a few watches here, but they seem like they're not the watches you're supposed to get if you're really a watch guy. So let me know down in the comments whether I qualify or not. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check those channel sponsors. It's a huge help to the channel when you do. All the watches that I've shown, I think I've added to my Amazon list, only Amazon.com. I have problems with the other ones working right. And And of course, White Mountain Knives and DLT Trading are down there. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.